Welcome to Calm History Narration. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Let the noise of your day fade away. If you enjoy gentle journeys through forgotten times, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. It helps others find a moment of calm, too. Now, close your eyes and let's step softly into another century. You find yourself standing in the grey dawn of Victorian London. Sometime in the 1850s, the air is cold, sharp enough to make you wrap your shawl tighter around your shoulders. A thin mist curls above the cobblestones, swallowing the gaslight glow until it looks like stars are flickering at your feet. You can smell the river, thick with coal smoke, salt, and the faint sourness of refuse carried downstream. Somewhere, a church bell tolls 6 times. Morning. The city is stirring. You live in one of the poorer districts, a maze of narrow alleys and leaning brick houses. The walls are damp, streaked with soot, and the windows, if not broken, are glazed with years of grime. From open doors you can already hear the sounds of life: coughing children, boots thudding down stairwells, and women's voices calling to one another as they fetch water from the pump. Your hands are cold, red from the November air. You rub them together and tuck them beneath your shawl. Another long day waits, though you do not yet know what kind of day it will be. You step outside, careful not to splash through the puddle of last night's rain. The sky above is pale and flat, the color of tin. Horses clatter past, their breath visible in little clouds. A cart rattles by, loaded with coal, the driver half asleep and hunched beneath his hat. The city moves slowly at first, as though it too is trying to wake. You walk toward the small factory where you work, just beyond the river bend. The work is endless, the pay barely enough to keep a roof above your head. But work is survival here. The factory bell will ring soon, and the overseer will expect every woman at her post. No excuses. As you pass through the streets, you catch snippets of life: a child crying, a man selling roasted chestnuts, the creak of a lamplighter's ladder as he extinguishes the last of the night's glow. The smell of bread drifts from a nearby bakery, warm and comforting for a moment, though you know it will be hours before you can afford a crust. In the distance, the factory rises like a dark shadow against the mist, its chimneys already coughing smoke into the air. You feel it settle into your lungs, thick and sour, but you're used to it now. Everyone is. Inside, the floorboards are slick with oil, and the machines are already spinning, clattering, groaning, and humming all at once. The noise fills every corner, swallowing voices whole. You nod to the woman beside you, Mary, who smiles faintly and returns to her sewing. Her fingers move with mechanical rhythm, though her eyes look tired, too tired for her age. Hours pass this way, each minute heavy with repetition. The work is precise, demanding. There is no time to think, only to move, stitch, fold, breathe. The air grows hotter, close with steam and sweat. You can feel your dress sticking to your back, the fabric rough against your skin. When the overseer passes, everyone straightens a little. He carries a cane, not for walking, but for warning. He rarely uses it now. He doesn't have to. His presence is enough to keep everyone quiet. By midday, your stomach growls. You unwrap a small piece of bread you brought from home, the crust hard as stone. You chew slowly, grateful even for that. The girl beside you shares a sip of her tea, weak and lukewarm. You thank her, and you both exchange the kind of smile that says we are still here. Outside, the day brightens faintly, a rare sliver of sunlight slipping through the high windows. Dust dances in the beam, tiny golden flecks swirling like a secret world of their own. For a moment, you let your gaze linger there, imagining the light touching real fields, real grass, far away from the choking city. But the moment fades quickly. The bell rings again and the noise resumes, louder, faster, heavier. You return to your work. When the final bell sounds at dusk, you feel as though your body has turned to lead. You walk home through the same narrow lanes, your feet aching, your hands trembling slightly from the rhythm of the day. The city is louder now, markets closing, pubs filling, street criers shouting the latest headlines, wars, politics, scandals, the Queen's newest decree. But none of that feels close to your world. Yours is smaller, measured in coins, in loaves, in hours. Back in your room, you light the small candle on the table. The flame flickers against the wall, throwing your shadow long and thin. You pour a little water into a cracked bowl, wash your face, and sit on the edge of your bed. The wood creaks beneath you. Through the thin walls, you can hear laughter somewhere. A group of men outside, singing off-key. A baby cries. Someone coughs, long and harsh. You lie down, pulling the blanket close. It smells faintly of smoke and lavender soap. You think of home, or what once was home. You think of how far you've come, though you've never really left the same few streets. You think of tomorrow, and the hundreds of tomorrows that look exactly like it. And still, somewhere deep inside, a small, stubborn part of you whispers, perhaps there is more than this. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the city hums outside your window like a lullaby. Endless, restless, alive. You drift into sleep, carried by the heartbeat of Victorian London. The first light of morning touches your face before you open your eyes. It's pale and thin, filtering through the cracks of your small window. The air is cool and still, the kind of quiet that exists only in the brief space before London wakes. You stretch beneath your blanket, feeling the rough fabric against your skin. For a moment you listen. You can hear the faint sound of someone sweeping the street outside, the scrape of bristles on cobblestone. Somewhere below, a kettle begins to whistle, the sharp high note of boiling water breaking the silence. You rise slowly. Your body aches from yesterday's work, a deep, familiar ache that never truly goes away. You pull your shawl around your shoulders, step to the small basin in the corner, and splash your face with cold water. It smells faintly of iron. You blink the sleep from your eyes. Your reflection in the small, cracked mirror shows a face both young and older than its years, lines forming where there should be none, shadows beneath the eyes that speak of long hours and little rest. You brush your hair into a knot, pin it back, and tie your apron. The motions are practiced, almost automatic. Outside your window, the street is stirring. Hooves clatter in the distance, a carriage rattles by, and someone shouts about fresh milk. You take a deep breath, letting the air fill your chest, heavy with coal smoke, but still somehow alive. You light the tiny stove with a scrap of newspaper and feed it the last bits of coal from the bucket. The flame catches, weak but steady. You boil a little water and pour it over a few tea leaves you've used twice before. The taste is faint, more memory than flavor, but it warms your hands. You hold the cup close, watching the steam twist and rise in the dim light. Your neighbor knocks softly on the wall. 3 taps, her way of saying good morning. You tap back twice, a silent exchange of friendship that has lasted through many hard winters. You smile faintly to yourself. In this part of the city, kindness is a quiet thing. Something passed hand to hand, wordless and small, but precious. You gather your things, a thin shawl, your worn gloves, and a piece of bread wrapped in paper. As you open the door, the smell of the street greets you. Damp stone, chimney smoke, and something faintly sweet from the bakery down the lane. The morning air bites at your cheeks, but it wakes you fully. You step out, locking the door behind you. The street is narrow, crowded already. Women hurry past with baskets, men push carts loaded with coal or wood. A chimney sweep's boy runs by, face black with soot, calling out his trade. You walk carefully between puddles, your shoes thin and cracked at the edges, but still holding together. A church bell tolls in the distance, slow, steady, marking the passing of another morning. It echoes off the stone walls and vanishes into the fog. You walk toward the factory again, each step familiar, each corner known. The rhythm of life here never changes, yet every morning feels slightly different. A shift in the air, a new smell, a different sound. You pass a woman selling flowers, her hands red from the cold. She calls softly, "Penny a bunch!" You pause for a moment, admiring the color, tiny bursts of yellow and pink against the gray world. You wish you could buy one, just to have something beautiful on your table. But your coins are counted carefully, each one already promised. You smile and walk on. Near the river, the fog thickens. You can hear the distant call of boatmen, their voices muffled by the mist. The water laps gently against the stone embankment, and the smell of it, briny, smoky, alive, wraps around you. For a brief moment you imagine what it might be like to sail away from all this, to see green hills or open sea. Then the thought fades, replaced by the whistle of the factory. You join the slow stream of workers filing inside. The air grows hotter instantly, heavy with oil and steam. The machines roar to life, a sound that fills your bones. You take your place, roll up your sleeves, and begin. The rhythm takes over. The soft hiss of fabric, the metallic clank of gears, the murmur of tired voices. Time blurs in this noise. You work and breathe, until the light outside shifts from gray to white. During the short break, you sit near the window with a few other women. The breeze carries the faint scent of the river, mixing with the smell of hot metal and dust. You eat your bread slowly, savoring every bite. Someone laughs, a rare soft sound, and for a moment the factory feels less like a cage. When work resumes, you find your thoughts drifting. You imagine your mother's voice, the sound of rain on a roof far from here, the feel of grass beneath bare feet. You can almost smell the earth, damp, clean, and alive. The image fades, replaced once again by the endless turning of the machine. As the sun begins to lower, the overseer calls time. You step outside, blinking in the weak daylight. Your clothes smell of oil and smoke. You breathe in the open air, grateful for its chill. Walking home, you notice the lamplighters at work again, their long poles touching each lamp in turn. One by one, small suns blooming in the fog. The sight is strangely comforting. You think of how those tiny flames keep the darkness away, just enough for people like you to find their way home. Back in your room, you hang your shawl, light your candle, and sit quietly for a moment. You watch the flame dance and think of how fragile light can be, and yet how faithfully it returns each night. The world outside hums and sighs, the city never truly sleeping. You close your eyes, letting the warmth of the candlelight rest against your skin. The sound of London becomes softer now, fading into something almost like a lullaby, and in that stillness you whisper to yourself, "Tomorrow will come again." The day begins again, gray, damp, and restless. You step outside after another long shift at the factory, your hands sore, your body heavy. But this evening, instead of heading straight home, you turn down the narrow road toward the market streets. The air smells of rain and smoke, with a hint of roasting chestnuts drifting through. The mist is thicker here, clinging to the crooked rooftops and swirling around the flickering gas lamps. The stones beneath your feet glisten, slick and uneven, reflecting the glow like fragments of broken glass. As you walk, the sound of the city wraps around you. Barrow wheels creak over cobbles. Vendors call out prices in sing-song rhythm. "Hot pies!" "Fresh eels!" "2 a penny!" The cries blend together, forming a living symphony of trade and survival. You pull your shawl tighter as you pass through the crowd. The market is alive with color and motion, a world far different from the dim gray of the factory floor. Here people laugh and argue, children dart between stalls, and the smells mingle into something dizzying: warm bread, damp wool, tobacco, sweat, and the faint perfume of crushed flowers. You stop by a woman selling vegetables, her hands rough from work, her apron dusted with flour. She nods in greeting, her face kind but weary. You glance over the meager display, a few turnips, some bruised apples, a bunch of carrots tied together with string. You hand her a coin and choose carefully. "Every penny matters." "Cold one tonight," she says, wrapping your small purchase in paper. You nod. "Colder than yesterday." Her eyes flick toward the darkening sky. "Always is this time of year." Her words carry a quiet knowing, the kind that comes from years of the same routine, season after season, standing here beneath the same gray clouds. You move on. The market opens wider now, spilling into a square where voices echo off the stone walls. A group of boys run past, laughing as they chase one another, their laughter ringing like bells against the fog. A man plays a tune on a worn fiddle, his case open for coins. The melody drifts through the air, soft, lilting, and just a bit sad. You pause to listen. The music reminds you of something, perhaps a memory, perhaps a dream. You can't quite tell, but for a moment the world feels lighter. The sound pulls at your chest like a gentle tide. When the song ends, you drop a small coin into the fiddler's case. He looks up, smiles faintly, and nods his thanks. His eyes are tired but warm. You walk away, the tune still following you through the mist. At the far end of the square, you see a group of women gathered near a lamppost. Their laughter rises above the market's hum, soft, knowing, touched with exhaustion. You recognize some of them: neighbors, factory workers, mothers with too many mouths to feed. They stand close together, hands wrapped around tin cups of weak tea, sharing warmth and stories. You approach, and they make room for you in their small circle. The heat of the nearby brazier seeps into your fingers, the fire crackling softly beneath the cold night air. Hard day? One of them asks. You smile wearily. Like all the others, a few nod in understanding. Conversation drifts easily here. Talk of wages, of sick children, of rumors from the newspapers. Someone mentions a new law about working hours, though no one quite believes it will change anything. Still, the talk itself is comforting, a small rebellion against silence. As you listen, your eyes wander to the rooftops above. The fog moves like breath, slow and alive. Somewhere in the distance, Big Ben tolls the hour. Its deep resonant sound rolls through the streets, steady and patient. You count each chime, feeling the weight of time in every note. The market begins to quiet as the night deepens. Stalls close, lights dim, and the last of the traders pack away their goods. The smell of smoke thickens, mingling with the scent of rain-soaked earth. You rise from your place by the brazier and begin the walk home, the others trailing behind in twos and threes, each heading toward their own small corners of the city. Your steps echo softly on the cobblestones. The city feels gentler now, slower, breathing in its sleep. A cat darts across your path, vanishing into the shadows. Somewhere a distant train whistle cuts through the mist, long and low. You reach your street and pause to look back. From here, the market is a blur of faint lights and drifting fog, already fading into memory. You think of how life in London is like that. Moments of color and warmth swallowed by gray. Then born again each morning, as certain as the sunrise. Inside your room, you place your small bundle of food on the table and sit beside the candle. The flame flickers, painting the walls with soft gold. You unwrap one apple, bruised but fragrant, and take a slow bite. Its sweetness surprises you. A reminder that even in a harsh world, simple things can still feel like gifts. You lean back in your chair, listening to the rain begin again outside. It patters softly against the window, steady and soothing. The city hums beneath it, the distant murmur of carriages, the whisper of footsteps fading down the lane. Your eyes grow heavy. The sound of the rain becomes your lullaby, washing over you like time itself, endless, gentle, unhurried. You close your eyes and think of the market, the light, the laughter, the warmth, and as you drift toward sleep, you realize that even here in the grayest corners of London, life still finds small ways to shine. Morning again. You wake before dawn, to the faint familiar sound of London breathing, the distant creak of cartwheels, the muffled call of early traders, and the low hum of the river nearby. You dress quietly, your fingers stiff from the chill, and wrap your shawl close. The candle burns low, its flame trembling as though reluctant to face the cold. You blow it out, and the room falls into gray shadow. Outside, the sky is heavy with fog. It curls around the rooftops, thick and white, swallowing sound. You walk toward the river, drawn by the muted pulse of life that always seems to flow along its banks. The streets are still, except for the crunch of your boots on damp stone. The air smells of wet coal and something metallic, like rain waiting to fall. You pull your shawl higher and follow the sound of water. Soon, the narrow alleys open to a wider space. There it is, the River Thames, broad, dark, and endless. Its surface glimmers faintly, reflecting the dim orange of distant lamps. Barges drift by, their lanterns swinging softly in the mist. You hear voices, low, rough, and tired, men calling to one another from the boats as they load crates and barrels. You step closer to the water's edge. The river's scent wraps around you, salt, smoke, and something earthy beneath. It's the smell of life and labor, of all that the city hides and carries. You stand for a moment, watching the current. It moves like time itself, slow, relentless, never still. You imagine how many lives it has seen. How many stories have slipped past these banks? A group of washerwomen are already at work nearby, bent over wooden tubs. Their hands move quickly, rhythmically, dipping cloth into water and wringing it out with practiced strength. Steam rises from the buckets, mingling with the morning fog. One hums a tune under her breath, a low, wistful melody that blends with the sound of the river. You greet them with a nod. One smiles back, her face lined but kind. "Cold morning," she says, her breath visible in the air. You nod. "Colder by the water." "Aye," she replies, wringing out a sheet. "But it pays the rent." You watch her for a moment. The grace in her labor, the steadiness in her movement. There's a quiet pride in the way these women work. No one notices them, yet they hold the fabric of the city together, quite literally. Further down the bank, children play with sticks near the puddles, their laughter bright against the fog. Their shoes are worn, their coats too thin, but the joy in their voices feels untouched by hardship. You smile faintly as one of them waves at you, a small hand, smudged with soot. You sit on a wooden crate near the water, letting the mist settle on your skin. You can hear the city waking behind you. The echo of hooves, the clang of distant bells, the whisper of 1,000 footsteps beginning another day. You take out a piece of bread from your pocket and eat slowly, savoring its warmth even as the cold seeps through your gloves. The world feels hushed, suspended in this gray light. Across the river, you see silhouettes moving along the opposite bank. Workers unloading goods from the docks, shouting orders that fade into the fog. Somewhere, a whistle blows. The sound cuts cleanly through the air, sharp and distant. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the rhythm of the river fill your senses. The lapping of water against stone, the faint creak of boats, the murmur of voices. It all weaves together into something like a song. You think of how this river touches every life in London. It feeds, it carries, it takes. It's both comfort and danger, a friend and a threat. So many have stood where you stand now, watching it flow past, wondering where it leads. A cold wind rises suddenly, tugging at your shawl. You shiver and pull it tighter, turning toward the city again. The fog is lifting slightly, revealing the shapes of bridges and chimneys in the distance. Smoke drifts upward in lazy curls, mingling with the gray sky. You begin to walk along the river's edge, your footsteps echoing softly. A boatman nods as you pass. "Mind your step, miss," he says, his voice deep and kind. You thank him with a quiet smile and move on. Further along, you come to a small stall selling tea and bread to the dock workers. The man behind it has a red scarf and eyes that crinkle when he smiles. You buy a cup of tea, weak but warm, and hold it between your hands, feeling the heat seep into your fingers. As you sip, you watch the boats slide by. Slow shadows against the moving water. One carries barrels marked with foreign names. Another is piled with coal. The river connects you to places you'll never see. The sea, the ports, distant lands whose names sound like stories. You take another sip and think how small your world feels sometimes. This narrow street, this patch of fog, this endless routine. And yet, here by the river, you sense something larger. The flow of life itself, vast and indifferent, but beautiful in its way. When the tea is gone, you thank the man and begin the walk back. The sun, weak but steady, is trying to break through the clouds now. A pale golden light spreads over the water, catching the tips of the waves and making them sparkle like tiny embers. For a moment, you stop to watch. The city looks softer in this light. The smoke gentler, the stones warmer. You breathe in deeply, and the cold air fills your lungs like clarity. Then you turn away, following the path back into the heart of London. The day awaits, long, loud, and full of work. But something in you feels quieter now, steadier, as though the river's calm has settled inside you. You glance back one last time. The Thames flows on, endless and patient, carrying the city's secrets out to sea. The day has ended. The factory's bell has long stopped ringing, and you walk home through a narrow lane that twists like a thread through the heart of London's poorest quarter. The light fades early here, hidden behind tall, leaning buildings. The air is damp and heavy, filled with the scent of coal smoke and boiled cabbage. You hear footsteps echoing in the passageways, the clatter of a tin pail, the cry of a baby from somewhere above. Every sound seems close, pressed in by the brick walls that crowd the street. Your home stands at the end of the lane, a tenement, 5 stories high, built of soot-darkened brick. Its windows glow dimly, but most are broken or patched with rags. You climb the wooden stairs, careful where you place your feet. The boards creak and tilt beneath your weight. The stairwell smells of mildew and damp clothing. Voices drift through the walls, laughter, coughing, murmured arguments, all mingling into the hum of survival. When you reach your room, you push open the door gently. The hinges groan. Inside, the space is small, barely enough for a narrow bed, a chair, and a little stove. But it is yours. You light the candle on the table, and its flicker pushes back the gloom just enough to see the outlines of your life. The ceiling leaks when it rains, and the wallpaper peels in places, revealing cracked plaster beneath. Yet you've made it a home. A few folded clothes on a shelf, a faded photograph pinned near the window, and a small potted plant struggling to grow in the thin light. You take off your shawl and sit on the edge of the bed, feeling the ache in your legs. The wood beneath you creaks softly, a familiar sound. You listen for a while, to the rhythm of footsteps in the hallway, to the soft hum of voices through the thin walls, to the slow breathing of the city beyond your window. Below you, on the floor below, a family prepares their evening meal. You can smell onions frying, hear the hiss of steam escaping from a pot. Somewhere higher up, someone laughs. A warm, genuine sound, rare but real. It makes you smile without meaning to. You stand and open the window slightly. The air outside is cold and damp, but it feels clean after the heat of the room. You look down into the courtyard, a narrow square of cobblestones where laundry hangs between windows like tired flags. A small fire burns in a metal drum, and people gather near it, sharing warmth and stories. Children chase one another in circles, their laughter bright even in the gloom. You rest your arms on the windowsill and watch. The candlelight from nearby rooms spills out into the fog, turning it golden. Somewhere, a woman sings a lullaby, soft and slow, her voice floating through the courtyard like smoke. You think of how many lives these walls contain, how many stories are whispered here each night. The tenement is a city within the city, built on resilience and endurance. Everyone works, everyone struggles, and yet, somehow, everyone carries on. Later you go downstairs to fetch water from the communal pump. The handle is cold beneath your fingers, and the water comes out cloudy at first before it clears. You fill your small tin bucket and carry it back carefully, the metal sloshing softly with each step. On the stairs, you pass Mrs. Larkin from the second floor, an older woman with kind eyes and hands forever busy with mending. She nods to you, her voice rough from years of factory dust. "Evening, love," she says. "Evening," you reply, pausing for a moment. She glances toward the cracked ceiling above. "They say it'll rain tonight." "Keep your bucket ready," you smile faintly. "Always do." Back in your room, you place the water near the stove and light a small fire. The wood crackles weakly, but the warmth spreads just enough to chase the chill from your fingers. You take a scrap of bread from your bundle and warm it over the flame, the smell comforting in its simplicity. As you eat, you listen again to the sounds of the building, the pipes groaning, a baby's soft cry, the rhythm of footsteps pacing overhead. It feels alive, this building, not beautiful, not gentle, but alive, breathing with all the souls it shelters. You finish your bread and pull the blanket from your bed to wrap around your shoulders. Sitting by the window, you watch the rain begin, soft at first, then steady. Droplets slide down the glass, catching the candlelight and breaking it into gold and silver streaks. The sound is soothing, a quiet percussion that fills the night. Your mind drifts to thoughts of others who once lived here, the generations who came before, who worked and dreamed and endured these same walls. You wonder if they too found small comforts in nights like this, a warm fire, a kind word, the sound of rain whispering over the city. The candle flickers low. Shadows stretch long across the floor. You pull the blanket tighter and rest your head against the wall, closing your eyes. The building groans softly as the wind rises, but you no longer notice. The rhythm of the rain and the faint lull of distant voices wrap around you like a song. As you drift toward sleep, you think of one quiet truth, that even in the narrowest, poorest corners of London, life continues to find its rhythm, steady and unbroken. The morning fog clings to your clothes as you walk toward the factory gates. The street is alive with footsteps, women, girls, and even small boys, all heading in the same direction. Some hold tin lunch pails, others carry bundles of thread or tools wrapped in cloth. The air smells faintly of smoke and wet stone. You join the stream of workers passing under the iron archway. The sound hits you first, a steady, rhythmic pounding that seems to shake the very ground. It grows louder as you step inside the vast brick building. The air is thick and warm, filled with the hum of machinery. The smell of oil, metal, and damp wool hangs in the air. Light filters through high windows, catching the drifting motes of dust. The floor trembles under the movement of gears and belts. You make your way to your station, a long wooden table beside a row of looms. Each one clatters and snaps with relentless precision. The sound merges into a kind of heartbeat, constant and hypnotic. The overseer, a tall man with a ledger in hand, walks down the aisle, his boots loud against the boards. He nods once and work begins. Your fingers move quickly, tying threads, feeding the loom, keeping the pattern straight. You've done this for so long that your hands seem to know what to do without thought. The rhythm becomes part of you. The tug, the twist, the pull, the press. Around you, dozens of women work in silence. Their faces are pale, their hair pinned back, their movements swift and practiced. Every few moments, one wipes sweat from her brow with the corner of her sleeve. The noise is constant, so loud you must lean close to speak. You rarely do. Words feel lost in the machine's roar. Hours pass this way. The light through the windows shifts from silver to pale gold. The heat grows heavier. You can taste the metal in the air. Occasionally, the overseer shouts above the din, reminding everyone of quotas, of precision, of the fragile balance that keeps your wages steady. A single mistake, a torn thread, a misaligned weave could mean less pay at week's end. You focus harder, though your eyes ache from the strain. The machine before you is both friend and foe. It gives you your living, but it demands everything. Your time, your strength, even your hearing, fading little by little with each passing month. At midday, the whistle blows, sharp and shrill. The machines grind to a halt. For a moment, the sudden silence feels startling, almost deafening in its own way. You sit on a crate near the window and unwrap your bread and cheese. Around you, the others do the same. A few laugh quietly, sharing bits of gossip or humming half-forgotten songs. The stillness feels like a luxury, a fragile pause in a world that never truly stops moving. You gaze out the window. Beyond the smoky glass, you can see the rooftops of London, gray and uneven, stretching toward the horizon. The world outside feels far away, too bright, too open. Someone passes you a cup of tea, weak and lukewarm, but comforting. You thank her with a small nod. She's new, maybe 16, with tired eyes and calloused hands. "How long have you worked here?" she asks softly. 5 years, you answer. It gets easier. She nods, though she doesn't seem convinced. You both fall quiet again, listening to the faint wind outside. When the whistle sounds once more, you rise automatically. The rhythm begins again. The looms clatter, the belts turn, the floor shudders. You lose yourself in motion. Sometimes, when you let your thoughts drift, you imagine another life, a quieter one. A cottage by the countryside, perhaps, where the air smells of rain and grass instead of smoke and oil. You picture open fields, silence, sunlight. Then the loom jerks, and the dream fades. Afternoon light spills weakly through the windows. The air feels thick with fatigue. A woman coughs somewhere down the row. Another stifles a yawn. Still the rhythm continues, relentless and steady. Finally, as the sky outside deepens into dusk, the whistle sounds again, long and low. The machines slow, their noise dying away like waves retreating from shore. You stretch your aching arms. The silence feels heavy, but welcome. You file out with the others, stepping into the cool evening air. The sky glows faintly orange behind the chimneys. You can smell the river again, distant but familiar. The sound of the city greets you. Carriages, voices, bells. Rhythm of footsteps in the hallway. To the soft hum of voices through the thin walls. To the slow breathing of the city beyond your window. Below you, on the floor below, a family prepares their evening meal. You can smell onions frying, hear the hiss of steam escaping from a pot. Somewhere higher up, someone laughs, a warm, genuine sound, rare but real. It makes you smile without meaning to. You stand and open the window slightly. The air outside is cold and damp, but it feels clean after the heat of the room. You look down into the courtyard, a narrow square of cobblestones where laundry hangs between windows like tired flags. A small fire burns in a metal drum and people gather near it, sharing warmth and stories. Children chase one another in circles, their laughter bright even in the gloom. You rest your arms on the windowsill and watch. The candlelight from nearby rooms spills out into the fog, turning it golden. Somewhere, a woman sings a lullaby, soft and slow, her voice floating through the courtyard like smoke. You think of how many lives these walls contain, how many stories are whispered here each night. The tenement is a city within the city, built on resilience and endurance. Everyone works, everyone struggles, and yet, somehow, everyone carries on. Later, you go downstairs to fetch water from the communal pump. The handle is cold beneath your fingers, and the water comes out cloudy at first before it clears. You fill your small tin bucket and carry it back carefully, the metal sloshing softly with each step. On the stairs, you pass Mrs. Larkin from the second floor, an older woman with kind eyes and hands forever busy with mending. She nods to you, her voice rough from years of factory dust. "Evening, love," she says. "Evening," you reply, pausing for a moment. She glances toward the cracked ceiling above. "They say it'll rain tonight. Keep your bucket ready," you smile faintly. "Always do." Back in your room, you place the water near the stove and light a small fire. The wood crackles weakly, but the warmth spreads just enough to chase the chill from your fingers. You take a scrap of bread from your bundle and warm it over the flame, the smell comforting in its simplicity. As you eat, you listen again to the sounds of the building, the pipes groaning, a baby's soft cry, the rhythm of footsteps pacing overhead. It feels alive, this building. Not beautiful, not gentle, but alive, breathing with all the souls it shelters. You finish your bread and pull the blanket from your bed to wrap around your shoulders. Sitting by the window, you watch the rain begin, soft at first, then steady. Droplets slide down the glass, catching the candlelight and breaking it into gold and silver streaks. The sound is soothing, a quiet percussion that fills the night. Your mind drifts to thoughts of others who once lived here, the generations who came before, who worked and dreamed and endured these same walls. You wonder if they too found small comforts in nights like this. A warm fire, a kind word, the sound of rain whispering over the city. The candle flickers low. Shadows stretch long across the floor. You pull the blanket tighter and rest your head against the wall, closing your eyes. The building groans softly as the wind rises, but you no longer notice. The rhythm of the rain and the faint lull of distant voices wrap around you like a song. As you drift towards sleep, you think of one quiet truth, that even in the narrowest, poorest corners of London, life continues to find its rhythm, steady and unbroken. The morning fog clings to your clothes as you walk toward the factory gates. The street is alive with footsteps, women, girls, and even small boys, all heading in the same direction. Some hold tin lunch pails, others carry bundles of thread or tools wrapped in cloth. The air smells faintly of smoke and wet stone. You join the stream of workers passing under the iron archway. The sound hits you first, a steady rhythmic pounding that seems to shake the very ground. It grows louder as you step inside the vast brick building. The air is thick and warm, filled with the hum of machinery. The smell of oil, metal, and damp wool hangs in the air. Light filters through high windows, catching the drifting motes of dust. The floor trembles under the movement of gears and belts. You make your way to your station, a long wooden table beside a row of looms. Each one clatters and snaps with relentless precision. The sound merges into a kind of heartbeat, constant and hypnotic. The overseer, a tall man with a ledger in hand, walks down the aisle, his boots loud against the boards. He nods once and work begins. Your fingers move quickly, tying threads, feeding the loom, keeping the pattern straight. You've done this for so long that your hands seem to know what to do without thought. The rhythm becomes part of you. The tug, the twist, the pull, the press. Around you, dozens of women work in silence. Their faces are pale, their hair pinned back, their movements swift and practiced. Every few moments, one wipes sweat from her brow with the corner of her sleeve. The noise is constant, so loud you must lean close to speak. You rarely do. Words feel lost in the machine's roar. Hours pass this way. The light through the windows shifts from silver to pale gold. The heat grows heavier. You can taste the metal in the air. Occasionally, the overseer shouts above the din, reminding everyone of quotas, of precision, of the fragile balance that keeps your wages steady. A single mistake, a torn thread, a misaligned weave, could mean less pay at week's end. You focus harder, though your eyes ache from the strain. The machine before you is both friend and foe. It gives you your living, but it demands everything. Your time, your strength, even your hearing, fading little by little with each passing month. At midday, the whistle blows, sharp and shrill. The machines grind to a halt. For a moment, the sudden silence feels startling, almost deafening in its own way. You sit on a crate near the window and unwrap your bread and cheese. Around you, the others do the same. A few laugh quietly, sharing bits of gossip or humming half-forgotten songs. The stillness feels like a luxury, a fragile pause in a world that never truly stops moving. You gaze out the window. Beyond the smoky glass, you can see the rooftops of London, gray and uneven, stretching toward the horizon. The world outside feels far away, too bright, too open. Someone passes you a cup of tea, weak and lukewarm, but comforting. You thank her with a small nod. She's new, maybe 16, with tired eyes and calloused hands. "How long have you worked here?" she asks softly. "5 years," you answer. It gets easier. She nods, though she doesn't seem convinced. You both fall quiet again, listening to the faint wind outside. When the whistle sounds once more, you rise automatically. The rhythm begins again. The looms clatter, the belts turn, the floor shudders. You lose yourself in motion. Sometimes, when you let your thoughts drift, you imagine another life, a quieter one. A cottage by the countryside, perhaps, where the air smells of rain and grass instead of smoke and oil. You picture open fields, silence, sunlight. Then the loom jerks, and the dream fades. Afternoon light spills weakly through the windows. The air feels thick with fatigue. A woman coughs somewhere down the row. Another stifles a yawn. Still, the rhythm continues, relentless and steady. Finally, as the sky outside deepens into dusk, the whistle sounds again, long and low. The machines slow, their noise dying away like waves retreating from shore. You stretch your aching arms. The silence feels heavy but welcome. You file out with the others, stepping into the cool evening air. The sky glows faintly orange behind the chimneys. You can smell the river again, distant but familiar. The sound of the city greets you. Carriages, voices, bells. For a moment you stand still, breathing deeply, letting the chill air wash the heat from your skin. You've survived another day. You start the slow walk home, your steps steady, your body tired but alive. You pass women just like you. Shawls pulled tight, faces weary, but eyes still glinting with quiet endurance. In this city of endless motion, you think it is a miracle simply to keep going, and as the lamps flicker to life, one by one you whisper to yourself, "Tomorrow will come, and you will rise again." The evening settles softly over the city. A thin mist creeps along the cobblestones, catching the dim orange light of the gas lamps. The air smells of rain and coal smoke, sharp yet strangely comforting. You step carefully through the narrow streets, your boots clicking faintly against the damp stone. Around you, London exhales, a low murmur of laughter, the creak of wagon wheels, the distant toll of a church bell announcing the hour. After the long hours in the factory, the world feels looser now. You walk without the weight of machinery in your ears. The air is cool against your skin, and for a brief moment, you feel almost free. Vendors still linger near the street corners, their cries softer now, tired from a day of trade. One sells roasted chestnuts, their scent rich and sweet, curling into the fog. Another offers ribbons and scraps of lace from a small wooden tray. You pause, fingers brushing the delicate fabric, but the price is too high. You smile politely and move on. You pass a group of boys sweeping the street, their laughter echoing off the walls. Their hands are black with soot, yet they sing as they work. Some old tune from the countryside that has somehow survived the city's noise. At the corner stands a pub, warm light spilling from its windows, the sound of fiddles and laughter drifting into the night. For a moment you hesitate. Inside you can see the glow of the fire, the sway of people dancing, mugs clinking together in celebration of another day survived. You step closer, drawn by the warmth. The doorman gives you a nod, recognizing your weary face. You slip inside. The air is thick with the scent of ale, sweat, and wood smoke. The walls gleam darkly in the firelight. You find a small seat near the hearth, your body sighing into the wooden bench. Around you, people talk and laugh in low, rolling tones, accents from every corner of the city blending into one sound. A woman with a bright red shawl hums softly to herself. Beside her, an old man tells a story about the docks, his voice full of salt and memory. Someone begins to play the fiddle, slow at first, then faster. The rhythm rises, spilling joy into the air. Boots tap against the floor. A few couples begin to dance, their movements clumsy but full of life. You find yourself smiling, a rare thing. For the first time all day, your body feels light. A barmaid passes by, balancing a tray of mugs. You nod for one, and when she sets it down, the foam catches the firelight. The taste is bitter but soothing, the warmth spreading through you like a small, private fire. You sit quietly, letting the sounds wash over you, the laughter, the scraping of chairs, the steady beat of the fiddle. Each sound feels alive, layered like threads in a tapestry of human survival. For a few moments, the factory feels far away. The grime and exhaustion of the day fade into the background. Here you are just another soul among many, laughing, resting, breathing. But even in this comfort, the world outside never truly disappears. A draft slips under the door, carrying the chill of the Thames. You think of the narrow alleys where the poor sleep under stairways, of the small children selling matches, of women your age who vanish into the fog, their names forgotten by morning. You take another sip slowly. Life in this city is a fragile thing, held together by hope, habit, and the smallest joys that flicker in between. The music softens. The fiddler's bow slows, his tune turning gentle, almost like a lullaby. Conversations hush for a moment. People hum along quietly, eyes half closed, as if the sound alone could hold the darkness at bay. You look into the fire. The flames move lazily, curling around blackened logs. The warmth brushes your cheeks, and your eyelids grow heavy. When the song ends, you rise, wrapping your shawl tightly around your shoulders. The night awaits outside, colder now, quieter. You nod to the fiddler as you pass. He smiles without stopping his tune. Stepping into the street again, the chill greets you like an old friend. The fog has thickened, wrapping the lamps in halos of light. You pull your shawl closer, the edges damp with mist. The walk home is long, but the rhythm of your steps feels calm. The city hums softly around you. Distant laughter, the clip of hooves, the whisper of rain beginning to fall. Each droplet glimmers under the lamps, like small stars scattered across the cobblestones. You breathe in deeply. The scent of rain on stone mingles with smoke and the faint sweetness of roasting chestnuts. For all its hardship, you think there is beauty here, hidden in the smallest details, waiting quietly to be noticed. And as you turn the last corner toward your street, the lamps flickering ahead, you whisper a quiet thought to yourself, even in the darkness. There is warmth enough to keep going. The fog follows you home. By the time you reach your street, it hangs low and thick, clinging to the uneven stones like a living thing. The lamps flicker dimly, their light bending in the mist. You can smell the river again, damp, metallic, mingled with the faint odor of ash from distant chimneys. Your building stands among dozens of others, shoulder to shoulder, brick walls streaked with soot and rain. The tenement looms high, its narrow windows glinting faintly in the lamplight. From inside, you can already hear the hum of life. Babies crying, pots clattering, a man's voice singing a broken tune. You climb the worn stone steps. Each one creaks beneath your feet. The air grows warmer as you ascend, thick with the smells of cooking, washing, and humanity. Cabbage soup, drying clothes, coal smoke, and sweat. At your door, you pause. The wood is rough beneath your fingers, the handle cold. You push it open. Inside, your small room greets you with quiet familiarity. The walls are cracked but clean. A single candle burns on the table, its light trembling against the plaster. The bed, really just a cot, is neatly made. Beside it, a chipped basin half filled with water glints in the flickering light. You remove your shawl, hanging it carefully on the nail by the door. The air feels close, still carrying the heat of the day. You open the small window, and a faint breath of cool mist drifts in. The street below murmurs with voices. Your neighbor, Mrs. Keats, calls softly through the thin wall. "You're late again, love." You smile, though she cannot see it. "Factory kept us long," you reply. "Ah," she says, "same for my lad at the docks. Hard times all around." Her voice fades into a cough, and you hear the sound of her kettle being moved from the fire. You sit down, your legs aching, and pour a bit of water from the jug to wash your face. The touch of it is cold, refreshing, grounding. In the candlelight, your reflection in the basin looks tired but steady. You've grown used to this sight. The soot on your skin, the hollow under your eyes, the quiet strength that somehow endures. From the hallway comes the sound of footsteps, slow, heavy, climbing past your door. A child giggles somewhere below, followed by a woman's soft scolding. The whole building breathes like one living creature, every wall thin enough to let its secrets slip through. You sit by the window for a while, elbows resting on the sill. Across the narrow street, other windows glow dimly, little islands of light floating in the fog. Through one, you see a mother rocking her baby. Through another, a man repairs his boots by candlelight. It's strange how close everyone lives, and yet how separate each life remains. 100 stories stacked on top of each other, all wrapped in the same tired bricks. You hear the faint strains of a harmonica drifting from somewhere down the alley. The tune is soft, familiar, a lullaby perhaps. Someone hums along under their breath. You close your eyes. The sounds blend. Music, laughter, the distant creak of a wagon, into something almost peaceful. Your stomach grumbles quietly. You take the small loaf you bought on the way home, break off a piece, and eat slowly. It's coarse bread, but warm. You savor it, grateful for its simple comfort. From the corner, a mouse scurries across the floor. You watch it vanish through a crack in the wall, smiling faintly. Even here in this crowded little space, life finds its way. Outside, the fog thickens again. You can hear the soft patter of rain beginning to fall, steady, rhythmic, soothing. The candlelight shimmers as the wind presses against the window pane. You lie down on the cot, pulling a thin blanket over yourself. The fabric smells faintly of soap and the city, clean but never quite fresh. Your body aches in quiet places. Your hands are rough, your shoulders tight. Yet there's a strange peace in the weariness, a reminder that you've made it through another day. You listen to the rain for a while, its soft tapping blending with the steady breathing of the tenement around you. Somewhere a baby cries, and the sound fades into a lullaby sung by a tired voice. You think of your mother, long gone, who used to sing to you in the same way. The memory is faint but warm, a distant thread connecting you to something gentler. The candle burns lower, its flame bending and swaying. Shadows crawl across the walls like slow-moving ghosts of the day. You close your eyes. The rain, the music, the heartbeat of the city, all melt into one steady rhythm, like the looms you worked beside, but softer now, almost tender. You breathe deeply and let yourself drift. Tomorrow, the factory whistle will wake you again. The streets will buzz, the air will smell of smoke, and life will begin once more. But for now, you rest in the small mercy of the present moment, a quiet room, a soft rain, and the knowledge that, in this vast and endless city, you have survived. And as sleep begins to take you, you whisper one last thought to the dark. Even among the broken walls, the morning comes not with sunlight, but with sound. It begins as a low hum in the distance, a faint tremor that grows and grows until it becomes the sharp, familiar cry of the factory whistle. You open your eyes to the dim gray of dawn. The candle burned itself out during the night. A thin curl of smoke still lingers above the melted wax. The room is cold. You can see your breath in the air. For a few seconds you lie still, listening to the world around you stir. Footsteps echo in the hallway. A baby whimpers. Somewhere downstairs someone coughs, then another joins until it becomes a chorus of morning life. You swing your legs off the cot and touch the floor, and it's cold as stone. You shiver, wrapping your shawl tightly around your shoulders. The window is fogged, the outside world little more than a blur of gray and pale gold. You pour what's left of the water from the jug into the basin and splash it on your face. The shock wakes you completely. You look at your reflection. Tired eyes, hair coming loose, a hint of soot still clinging near your temple. But there's resolve there too, quiet and steady. You dress quickly, pinning your hair back, tying your apron. Every movement feels practiced, part of a ritual you've long since learned to perform without thought. Through the thin wall, Mrs. Keats hums a tune as she stirs her pot. "Cold morning again?" she calls out. "Colder than yesterday," you reply, buttoning your coat. "Winter's coming fast," she says, her voice soft with worry. "Coal's dear this year." You don't answer, because there isn't much to say. Everyone knows how hard the cold months can be, how the damp creeps into bones and walls alike. You glance toward the small pile of coal near your stove. Only a few lumps remain. You'll need more soon somehow. You tuck a small piece of bread into your pocket for later, blow out the candle's last faint flame, and step into the hallway. The door closes behind you with a soft click. The stairwell smells of ash and cooking. Children dart past your legs, giggling as they chase one another down the steps. Their laughter echoes strangely in the narrow space, bouncing from wall to wall. Outside, The morning fog has thickened, softening the edges of everything. The street glows faintly under the pale sky, slick with dew. You pull your shawl tighter and begin the walk toward the factory. The world feels half asleep still. A milkman's cart rattles by, the clink of bottles faint in the mist. A lamplighter extinguishes the last of the gas lamps with a long pole, his movements graceful, almost reverent. From an upper window, someone empties a basin of water into the gutter below. The splash echoes sharply, then fades. Your breath curls in front of you like smoke. Every step leaves a dark mark on the wet stone. You pass a woman selling rolls from a small cart, her hands red from the cold. She nods to you with a tired smile. "Morning, love. Hungry?" You shake your head gently. "Not today." She nods again, understanding. Few have coins to spare before payday. As you near the factory, the streets grow busier. The fog thins just enough to reveal the outlines of other workers. Men in caps, women with shawls pulled tight, young boys carrying tools. No one speaks much. The rhythm of footsteps says everything. The iron gates stand open, the overseer already waiting by the ledger. The air smells of coal smoke and oil. You glance upward. The factory windows gleam faintly in the rising light, their glass streaked with soot. Inside, you can already hear the machines stirring, like giants waking from restless dreams. You take your place in line, the weight of routine settling around you like a heavy coat. One by one, the workers file in. The whistle sounds again, sharper this time, signaling the start of another day. Inside, the warmth hits you immediately, thick, oily, and loud. The looms stand ready, their belts and wheels gleaming faintly in the half-light. You take your seat, your hands finding their rhythm without thought. Thread by thread, pattern by pattern, the hours unfold. The sound becomes a kind of music, harsh but familiar. A song of survival you've learned by heart. Sometimes, when you pause for a moment, you glance toward the high windows. The light beyond them changes slowly, from gray to pale white, and then to the dim gold of afternoon. You wonder what it must feel like to work under open sky. The overseer passes by. His eyes are sharp, his steps precise. You nod without meeting his gaze, keeping your hands moving. The day stretches on. The clatter of the machines fills every thought, every breath, until time itself seems to blur. When the noon whistle finally blows, you almost don't hear it. The sudden silence feels startling, like waking from a dream. You rub your eyes, stretch your aching fingers, and take the small piece of bread from your pocket. It's hard and plain. But as you eat, you watch the others. Women chatting softly, one mending her apron, another writing a letter on a scrap of paper. For a moment, the factory feels almost human again. You look toward the window once more. The fog has lifted now, revealing the faint blue of the sky. It's easy to forget it exists. This sky, hidden behind smoke and labor, but always there. Steady and infinite, you take another breath, slow and deep. The scent of oil still lingers, but beneath it, you can smell something clean, maybe tomorrow. You think there will be sunlight. When you finally wake, the city feels different. It is quieter, slower, as though London itself has taken a breath. The usual clatter of wheels and shouts of vendors are gone, replaced by the soft hum of church bells drifting through the pale morning light. It is Sunday, a day when even the restless heart of the city pauses for a while. Your small room is filled with a cool gray glow. The fog still lingers outside, but the light is softer today, not the harsh white of the work week. You stretch beneath your blanket, feeling the stiffness ease from your arms and back. For once, there is no whistle, no overseer's shout, no rush through the cold streets. Only silence and the distant melody of bells calling people to prayer. You rise slowly, savoring the stillness. You light the candle on your table, its faint flame flickering against the cracked plaster. The warmth feels gentle, almost kind. You wash your face with cool water and brush your hair, taking your time for once. There's no need to hurry. The day belongs to you, even if just for a few precious hours. Outside, the street hums with a different sort of life. Families step out of their doors dressed in their best, men in clean coats, women in shawls carefully brushed, children holding hands. The air smells faintly of bread, smoke, and damp stone. You stand by your window watching them pass. Some head toward the church at the corner, its steeple rising like a gray finger through the mist. Others wander slowly, simply enjoying the rare stillness. You decide to walk too. You wrap your shawl around your shoulders and step into the street. The cold air nips at your cheeks, but it feels refreshing. The cobblestones glisten from the night's rain, and puddles mirror the clouds above. As you walk, you pass the baker's shop. The smell of fresh loaves fills the air, golden and warm. A small line has already formed outside, people chatting quietly as they wait. You stand at the edge of the crowd, managing to buy a small roll, soft and fragrant. You tear off a piece as you walk, the taste comforting and simple. Further along, the sound of the church organ reaches your ears. The door is open, and you can see a soft golden light spilling out. For a moment you hesitate. You haven't been inside for weeks. The long days, the exhaustion. They've made it easy to forget such things. But today, something draws you in. Inside, the air is warm and faintly perfumed with beeswax and incense. Rows of candles flicker before the altar. The benches creak softly under the shifting weight of the congregation. You find a seat near the back. The vicar's voice is low and rhythmic, his words mingling with the soft rustle of clothing, the sigh of the old wooden beams. You don't catch every word, but the tone itself soothes you. Gentle, steady, full of something that feels like hope. A small boy in the row ahead glances back at you and smiles. You smile in return, and for a moment, the world feels lighter. When the hymns begin, the sound rises like a tide. Voices of all kinds, young, old, weary, strong, blending into something pure and human. The melody wraps around you like a warm blanket. You close your eyes. The song vibrates through the air, through the floor, through your bones. It feels like sunlight reaching places inside you that the city's smoke can never touch. When the service ends, you step back into the street. The fog has lifted, revealing a patch of pale blue sky. The bells ring once more, softer now, like a farewell. You wander a little before heading home. The market is closed today, but a few children play near the fountain, their laughter echoing between the walls. Women chat in doorways, sharing gossip and small kindnesses. There is laughter here, tired but genuine. By the time you return to your building, the afternoon light has turned golden. You sit by your window again, breaking what remains of your roll and sipping tea brewed from reused leaves. Across the street, a man plays a violin, the notes drifting upward like smoke. You rest your head against the wall and let the sound carry you away. For one brief day, you are not a factory worker or a tenant among hundreds. You are simply a soul among souls, breathing, resting, existing. Outside, the sunlight fades gently, turning the city to shades of amber and gray. The bells fall silent, replaced by the quiet murmur of evening returning. You watch the sky darken, thinking of the week to come. But tonight that weight feels far away. You whisper softly to yourself, even in the hardest lives, there must be moments that belong only to peace. The next morning dawns brighter than usual. A thin line of sunlight slips through your window, landing across your floor like a promise. The air smells cleaner after last night's rain. You rise early because today is market day, and that means color, noise, and life. You wrap your shawl, tuck a few coins into your palm, and step into the street. The fog has lifted, revealing the city in clearer tones, grays and browns and golds. The market is already alive when you arrive. The narrow lanes are crowded with stalls, each one overflowing with movement. You can hear everything at once, the calls of vendors, the cluck of chickens, the creak of carts, the laughter of children darting between legs. The air is thick with smells, baked bread, dried fish, damp hay, and coal smoke mingling into something strangely comforting. A woman at one stall calls out, "Fresh apples! For a penny!" Her hands move quickly, polishing each one until it shines. You pause to buy a few, running your thumb over their cool, smooth skin. Further down, you pass a butcher's stall. The metallic scent of blood cuts through the air. A boy swings a cleaver with surprising strength, his sleeves rolled up, his face streaked with red. You look away, not from disgust, but from habit. Such sights are part of life here, woven into the rhythm of survival. A few stalls over, a fiddler plays a lively tune. The notes bounce between the walls, and for a moment, the noise of the market feels almost musical. A small crowd gathers, some tapping their feet, others swaying gently with the rhythm. You smile as you pass. You stop at a second-hand stall, rows of worn shoes, faded dresses, and chipped dishes. You run your fingers over the fabrics, soft with age. The woman who runs the stall gives you a knowing look. "Careful with that one, love," she says. "It's finer than it looks." You laugh softly, feeling the lace between your fingers. For a heartbeat, you imagine what it might be like to wear such things new, clean, bright, untouched by the years. But the thought drifts away as easily as it came. The day grows warmer. The air hums with energy, the buzz of the crowd, the clink of coins, the low roll of conversation. Eventually, you turn toward the river. The Thames lies just beyond the last row of stalls, wide and gray under the afternoon light. You can smell it before you see it, that sharp, briny scent of mud and water. The docks are busy too, men unloading barrels, calling to one another over the splash of oars and the creak of ropes. Ships rise and fall gently with the tide, their sails flapping like tired wings. You find a place to sit on the edge of the embankment. The stones are cold beneath you, but the breeze feels good on your face. You bite into one of your apples, crisp, tart, full of simple sweetness. Around you, life continues in endless motion. A group of boys skip stones across the water. A man in a tattered coat feeds crumbs to the gulls. Somewhere upriver, a church bell rings the hour. You watch the ripples spread across the surface of the water, the sunlight catching them in glints of silver. For a moment you forget the noise, the smoke, the hardship. All you feel is the gentle wind against your cheek and the steady rhythm of the river breathing beside you. You think of how this same river has carried so many lives. Sailors, merchants, kings, and beggars, all bound by its steady current. It has seen triumph and tragedy, laughter and loss, and still it flows patient, unhurried. You dip your fingers into the water, cool and smooth. The touch feels grounding, real, as if the river itself holds the memory of everyone who has ever leaned close to listen. The afternoon light shifts slowly toward gold. The market begins to quiet, stalls closing one by one. The fiddler's tune fades into the hum of evening. You rise, brushing dust from your skirt. The coins in your pocket jingle softly, what remains after your small purchases. Enough for a loaf of bread, perhaps, or a bit of coal. As you turn to leave, you glance once more at the river. Its surface glows with the last light of day. You feel a calmness settle over you, deep and steady. The kind that only comes when you remember that life, even in struggle, continues to move forward. You whisper softly to yourself, like the river. I will keep flowing, through shadow and through light. Evening falls gently over London, like a curtain drawn by unseen hands. The sky turns from gray to amber, then finally to the deep blue of twilight. Gas lamps flicker to life, one by one, lining the streets with pale halos of light. You step outside your narrow doorway, feeling the chill in the air. The scent of coal smoke drifts from 1,000 chimneys, mixing with the damp of the river breeze. Somewhere nearby, someone hums an old tune. The city after dark is different, quieter in some ways, yet more alive in others. The daytime rush has softened into murmurs, footsteps, laughter that fades and returns. The market stalls are shuttered now, but the night brings its own kind of trade. You walk slowly down the narrow lanes. Cobblestones gleam under the lamps, slick with evening mist. A cat darts across your path, its shadow stretching long on the wall. You hear the faint notes of a violin spilling from an upstairs window. A lonely, beautiful sound. A man leans in a doorway, pipe glowing faintly as he watches the street in silence. Further along, a group of children play in the dim light, skipping rope and giggling. Their laughter feels bright against the quiet hum of the city. You pause to watch, smiling softly. The taverns are alive tonight. You can hear the rumble of voices, bursts of song, the clink of mugs. For some, this is a time to forget the hardships of the day. For others, it's a chance to earn a few more pennies. Musicians, vendors, or those who sell warmth of another kind. You keep walking, feeling the night air against your cheeks. The gaslight flickers in the puddles, making the street seem to shimmer. A soft fog rolls in from the river, curling around doorways and chimneys. You pass a woman sitting on a stoop, her shawl drawn tight around her. She nods to you and you nod back. There's a quiet understanding between you, two souls moving through the same world, holding on in their own ways. A cart rattles past, pulled by a tired horse. The driver hums under his breath, a low, steady sound that fades into the distance. You turn down a narrower lane. where the light grows dimmer. The smell of damp brick and coal fills your nose. Somewhere nearby, someone is frying onions. The scent drifts toward you, warm and sharp. It reminds you that you haven't eaten since morning. You stop at a small stall tucked between two buildings. A woman sells hot potatoes wrapped in paper. You hand her a coin and she smiles, handing you one fresh from the coals. You take a bite. The warmth spreads through you, simple and satisfying. Steam rises into the cold air as you walk on, savoring each mouthful. The sounds of the city grow softer now. A distant whistle, the low creak of wood, the gentle splash of water somewhere unseen. You turn toward the river again, drawn by its steady rhythm. Down by the embankment, the lamps are fewer. The water glimmers faintly under the moonlight, moving like silk. You sit on a step and listen to the ripples, the distant hum of life, the whisper of the wind through the arches of the bridge. A pair of lovers passes by, their laughter floating softly before fading into the mist. The moment feels suspended, fragile, timeless. You close your eyes and breathe in the damp, cold air. Beneath the struggle and noise, there is beauty here, in the flicker of the lamps, the laughter of children, the music that drifts from unseen windows, even in hardship. Life hums quietly on, you whisper to yourself. In every darkened street there is still a light somewhere, waiting to be seen. It's late when you return to your building. The narrow stairway creaks beneath your feet as you climb, candle in hand. The air inside smells faintly of smoke, boiled cabbage, and the damp wood of too many winters. You live in a tenement, one of hundreds scattered across the city. Each room holds a life, a story, a struggle. Together they breathe and sigh through the same thin walls. As you reach your landing, you hear the sounds of life around you. A baby crying softly in the room below, the rhythmic cough of an old man next door, a snatch of laughter from somewhere higher up. You push open your door and step into your small room. The candlelight flickers, throwing soft shadows on the peeling wallpaper. The air is cold but familiar. You set down your shawl and sit beside your little stove, coaxing the embers to life. Outside your window you can see other rooms lit by candles too, squares of light floating in the dark. Each one a tiny world of its own. A knock comes at your door. It's Mrs. Givens from down the hall, her cheeks pink from the chill, her apron dusted with flour. "Evenin', love," she says with a tired smile. "Made too much bread again. Thought you might fancy some." You thank her softly, taking the still warm loaf in your hands. The smell fills your room, comforting, homey. When she leaves, you tear off a piece and eat it slowly. The taste of yeast and salt feels like a small kindness. Through the thin walls, you can hear the low murmur of voices, neighbors talking before bed. Someone plays a harmonica, the notes slow and wistful. Children giggle until their mother hushes them. You lie back on your small bed, listening. The building itself seems alive. Wood settling, pipes groaning, whispers floating through the cracks. In its own rough way, it feels like community. A man's voice rises in a story, something about the docks, about work that went wrong, and a friend who didn't come home. His tone is weary but steady. A woman laughs softly, not mockingly, but in understanding. The sounds fade one by one as the night deepens. You watch the shadows flicker on your ceiling and think about the people around you, all of them carrying their burdens, their hopes, their quiet dreams. You think of the woman below you, tending her baby through the night, of the boy upstairs who practices reading by candlelight, of Mrs. Givens, who still bakes bread even after long hours at the laundry. Everyone survives in their own way. Everyone gives a little warmth where they can. You close your eyes, feeling the heat of the small stove reach you. The faint scent of bread lingers in the air. For the first time that day, your body begins to unwind. Outside rain begins to fall, soft, steady, like a lullaby against the roof. The sound fills your small room, soothing and constant. You think about how this old building, with all its cracks and stains, shelters so many lives at once. It groans and creaks and leaks, but still it stands. And somehow, so do you. You whisper to yourself, even the thinnest walls can hold a world full of hearts still beating. The day begins with smoke. Before the sun has properly risen, the city exhales. Chimneys belch gray clouds into the cold morning, and the streets come alive beneath their haze. You open your door and step into the damp air, pulling your shawl close. The smell of coal, steam, and metal greets you like an old, unwelcome friend. The sound of carts rolling over cobblestones fills the street. Horses snort, their breath visible in the chill. The milkman calls out softly, and a boy with a bundle of newspapers darts past, his boots slapping against the stones. You walk toward the factory district. The ground beneath your feet vibrates faintly, as though the city itself is already awake and humming. The air feels thicker here, full of soot, of heat, of the weight of work waiting to begin. Ahead, the tall brick building looms like a fortress. Windows high and narrow, smokestacks climbing into the sky. The whistle hasn't sounded yet, but the crowd is already gathering. Women stand in small groups, rubbing their hands for warmth. Some share tea from a tin, others stand in silence, eyes heavy with sleep. A few young boys chase each other in circles, laughter cutting through the fog like a brief spark of light. When the whistle finally shrieks, the sound is sharp and final. It cuts through the chatter, through the hum of the street. Instinctively, you move with the crowd toward the gates. Inside, the world shifts. The air grows hotter. The roar of machines swells around you, steady and endless. You find your place among the rows, the loom before you, the spools beside you, the faint tremble of the floor under your boots. You begin your work. Hands move automatically, each motion learned long ago. The rhythm becomes a song, the whir of wheels, the hiss of steam, the soft slap of thread against metal. Hours pass, though it's hard to tell how many. The light through the windows changes from gray to gold, and back again as clouds drift past. You can't hear your own thoughts over the noise, but there's a strange peace in that too. A kind of silence within the sound. When the overseer passes, you keep your gaze on your hands. He says nothing, only marks something in his ledger and moves on. At midday, the whistle blows again. You stop. The sudden stillness makes your ears ring. You stretch your fingers, take a small bite from the bread you brought. The taste of it, simple, plain, anchors you somehow. You glance around. A few women talk softly. One hums a tune barely audible over the hiss of cooling pipes. Someone laughs, then coughs. The air smells of sweat and oil. It's heavy, yet oddly comforting, a scent you've come to associate with life itself. When work resumes, you fall back into rhythm. Thread and motion, time and breath. Your mind drifts, floating above the noise. You think of the sky outside, the streets beyond, the sound of the river at night. By the time the evening whistle sounds, the light has faded again. Your shoulders ache. Your eyes sting from the dust. But when you step outside, the cool air feels like a gift. The city glows faintly under the gas lamps. Smoke curls upward in long ribbons, dissolving into the dark. You look up searching for stars, but the sky gives none. Only the lamps, flickering like small, tired suns. You begin the walk home, your steps slow, steady. Around you, others do the same. The hum of the machines lingers in your bones. You think to yourself, even in a city of smoke, the human heart keeps its quiet fire burning. Sunday comes softly. The streets are quieter today, wrapped in the hush that follows the whistle's silence. You wake to the sound of church bells drifting through the morning air, slow and solemn. For once, there's no rush. You lie beneath your thin blanket a little longer, watching the light shift on the wall. It feels strange, to be still, to have hours that belong to you alone. Outside, the city stirs more gently. The usual clatter is replaced by softer sounds. A broom sweeping a doorway. The coo of pigeons, footsteps that do not hurry. You rise slowly. Wash your face in the basin and put on your best dress. Simple but clean. You brush your hair and tie it neatly, glancing in the small mirror with a quiet smile. Mrs. Givens knocks again, as she often does. "Walk into service, dear?" she asks, already tying her bonnet. You nod. The church lies only a few streets away, its bells still calling out across the rooftops. Together, you walk through the crisp air, the cobblestones glistening from last night's rain. The city looks different today, softer somehow. Children run ahead in clean clothes, faces bright with excitement. Men tip their hats, women greet one another with smiles. The usual weariness seems to lift, if only for a little while. When you reach the church, the doors stand open. The smell of beeswax and stone greets you as you step inside. Candles flicker along the aisles, their flames trembling gently. You find a place among the others. The pews creak as people settle. Then for a long moment silence, the kind that fills every corner. The vicar begins to speak. His words are familiar, steady, like a song you've known all your life. You listen, not for meaning, but for the rhythm, the comfort of it. Beside you, a child fidgets, his mother whispering softly to calm him. Sunlight spills through stained glass, scattering color across the faces in the pews. You watch it move, blue, gold, red, like living jewels dancing on worn wood. After the service, people linger outside, talking quietly. The smell of fresh bread drifts from somewhere nearby. Laughter bubbles up here and there, rare, bright, precious. You walk to the small park by the river. It's one of the few green places in your part of the city. The trees are bare now, but the air is clean, touched with the scent of damp earth. Children play by the water's edge, tossing pebbles. An old man feeds the pigeons. Two young women share secrets beneath a tree, their voices low but full of warmth. You find a bench and sit. The river glides past, slow and endless. The world feels gentler here, like it's breathing alongside you. You close your eyes for a moment. The sounds, laughter, footsteps, the church bells fading in the distance, weave together into something peaceful. For one day, there is no factory, no overseer, no smoke. Only the quiet pulse of life continuing. Later, when you return home, the streets glow with evening light. Candles flicker in the windows. Music drifts faintly from a tavern nearby. You sit by your small stove again, a cup of tea warming your hands. You think of the day, of the colors, the faces, the stillness, and you feel something close to hope. The fire crackles softly. The city outside hums low and kind. You whisper to yourself. Even one day of peace can carry a soul through a week of toil. The morning sun breaks through the fog in golden ribbons, lighting the narrow streets of the East End. You pull your shawl tighter as you step outside, drawn toward the faint roar of the market. Even from here, you can feel it. The pulse of life, the chatter of hundreds of voices, the creak of carts and the clatter of hooves. It's a sound that fills the air like music, rough but steady. As you turn the corner, the market comes into view, a maze of stalls under faded awnings, colors spilling everywhere. Crates of apples, heaps of carrots still dusted with earth, fish laid out on boards that glisten in the morning light. The air is thick with scent, salt, smoke, bread, and something sweet from a nearby bakery. A woman calls out, her voice strong and rhythmic. "Fresh eggs." "2 for a penny." A man with a cart full of oranges shouts in return. "Best in London." Juicy as the sun itself. You smile as you walk among them. Every vendor has a rhythm, every buyer a dance. Gestures, bargains, laughter, all flowing together. You stop at a stall selling fabrics, scraps of cotton, wool, bits of lace. You run your fingers over the textures, soft and rough beneath your fingertips. The seller, a woman about your age, nods at you kindly. "Bit of blue would suit you, love," she says. You smile and shake your head, but tuck the color in your memory for another time. Nearby, a butcher's boy calls to passing women. His apron streaked with red, but his grin bright as morning. The sound of knives clinks like metal bells behind him. You move through the crowd, brushing past shawls, baskets, laughter. Children weave between legs, clutching apples or coins, their faces streaked with soot and joy. A man plays a concertina on the corner. His tune is cheerful, though his eyes look far away. People toss him pennies, and he nods his thanks without missing a note. You buy a small loaf of bread and a handful of turnips. The coins cool in your palm. The woman selling them wraps them in brown paper, pressing your hand gently as she gives them over. "Mind yourself, love," she says. Crowds get rough this time of day. The warning proves true a few moments later. 2 boys dart past, snatching a man's handkerchief before vanishing into the maze of stalls. The man shouts, then sighs, knowing it's useless to chase. You step aside as a carriage rolls through, its wheels splashing through the puddles. The air smells of horses and rain. Beyond the food stalls lies the jumble market, second-hand coats, old books, bits of jewelry, cracked teacups with faint blue flowers. You stop at a small table where a man sells pocket watches. One catches your eye. It's silver dull, but still beautiful. You turn it over in your hand, feeling its weight. It reminds you of time itself, always moving, always ticking, no matter how many hours are spent in work or worry. You give it back with a soft smile. Pretty thing, you say. Aye, the man replies, voice gentle. But best to spend time than buy it. You walk on, the words lingering. The market breathes around you, alive, loud, full of stories. By midday, the sky begins to cloud again. The wind carries the smell of the Thames, wet, metallic, familiar. You find a quiet spot near a wall and sit for a moment, resting your feet, the bread still warm in your hand. You watch the people, how they move, talk, trade, live. Each face a story, each sound a heartbeat of the city. You take a bite of bread. It tastes simple, grounding. The market hums on. You think to yourself, even in the noise, life speaks softly if you listen long enough. You turn from the noise of the market and step into a narrow alleyway. At first, it feels like stepping from one world into another. The air cools instantly, damp, heavy with the smell of stone and smoke. The walls rise close on either side, their bricks darkened by soot. Here the sunlight barely reaches the ground. It filters through cracks and gaps above, falling in thin, trembling lines. You walk slowly, your footsteps echoing softly. Laundry hangs between the buildings like pale ghosts. Shirts, sheets, stockings swaying in the faint breeze. Drops of water fall from them, pattering on the cobbles below. Somewhere deeper in the alley, you hear laughter, low and quick. A door creaks open and a woman steps out, carrying a bucket. She nods to you as she pours water into the gutter. The liquid snakes its way down the stones, carrying ash and soap away. Busy day? She asks, her voice warm despite the cold air. Always, you reply, offering a tired smile. Best keep walking then, she says, not unkindly. Dark comes early here. You thank her and move on. The alley twists and turns, each corner revealing another world. A cat perches on a windowsill, tail flicking lazily. A boy runs past barefoot, clutching a crust of bread. From behind a half-open door comes the murmur of conversation. The faint tune of a fiddle. Everywhere, life presses close. Small, hidden, resilient. You pause by a small courtyard where a group of women are scrubbing clothes in large tubs. Steam rises around them, carrying the sharp scent of lye. Their hands are red and raw, but their voices are steady as they sing together, a tune old as the city itself. Their harmony fills the cold air, turning the alley into something almost holy. You listen quietly until the song fades. One of the women glances up and smiles. Work's easier when you make it sing, she says. You nod, knowing it's true, in every place, no matter how dark. People find ways to keep their souls alive. As you continue walking, the walls seem to lean inward, the path narrowing. You can hear the city again now. Distant wheels, shouts, laughter. The alley opens onto a small square where the light returns, spilling down like gold. You breathe deeply, feeling the warmth on your skin again. The air smells cleaner here, faintly of bread and fresh air drifting in from the wider streets. You stop at a fountain, its water trickling softly over worn stone. A little girl fills a jug beside you, smiling shyly before running off. The square feels calm, an oasis between the chaos of the market and the gloom of the alleyways. You sit on the edge of the fountain, watching people pass. For a moment, the city seems to slow. The wind carries the distant sound of a church bell. A cloud drifts across the sun, softening the light. You think of the alleys behind you, of their shadows, their hidden songs. How even in darkness there was rhythm, warmth, life. You whisper quietly, in every shadow. There's someone still singing. You make your way toward the river as the afternoon fades. The air grows cooler with every step, tinged with salt and the faint scent of coal smoke. You can hear the water before you see it. The soft, endless rush that never truly stops. When you reach the embankment, the world opens up before you. The Thames glimmers under a pale sky, wide and gray, its surface rippling like silk in the wind. Barges move slowly across the water, their sails heavy, their crews shouting to one another in voices carried by the breeze. You walk along the edge, the stones slick beneath your boots. The city hums behind you, the rumble of carts, the clang of bells, the steady rhythm of work. But here, it feels distant. The river carries a different kind of sound, softer, older. Children play nearby, tossing sticks into the water and watching them drift. A dog barks, then splashes in after a floating scrap of wood. Their laughter rings against the hum of the current. You stop beside a woman selling roasted chestnuts from a small iron stove. The scent is warm and nutty, curling into the cold air. You buy a few, the paper packet hot in your hands. Cold one, isn't it? She says, smiling through the smoke. It is, you reply, exhaling a small cloud of breath. You walk as you eat, the taste of the chestnuts simple and sweet. The warmth seeps through your fingers into your skin. Down by the dock, men unload crates. Their shouts echo across the water. A crane creaks as it lifts heavy cargo, its rope glinting faintly in the low light. You pause to watch, fascinated by the motion, the constant, tireless labor that keeps the city alive. Further along, the river bends. You find a place where the water comes close, its surface whispering against the stones. The tide is low, and you can see bits of driftwood, scraps of cloth, a single lost shoe caught in the mud. You sit on a worn step, letting the sounds wash over you. The creak of wood, the call of gulls, the steady breathing of the river. For a moment, you close your eyes. The world feels larger here, not just London, but something beyond it. The river connects everything, from the docks to the sea, from the city's heart to faraway shores. A soft wind lifts your hair. You can smell the tide turning. You imagine where the water might go next, to other ports, other hands, carrying stories you'll never know. When the church bells begin to toll, their sound ripples across the water. The light shifts. The river takes on a shimmer of silver and gold. You rise slowly, brushing dust from your skirt. The city calls again, softly but firmly. You take one last look at the river, its endless motion, its patient strength, and whisper to yourself, even the water works without rest. Yet it never forgets how to flow. The night has fallen softly over London. You sit beside your small table, a candle burning low. Its flame wavers with every breath of wind from the cracked window. The walls seem to glow faintly, the shadows long and deep. Before you lies a piece of paper, creased, smudged, but precious. Beside it, a stub of pencil, worn almost to nothing. You can read, though not everyone around you can. It's a gift you hold quietly, something your mother taught you in stolen moments years ago. She'd trace letters with her finger in flour on the table, whispering their shapes as if they were secrets. Now, you do the same. Slowly, carefully, you write. The words come haltingly at first, the loops uneven, the lines faint, but each one feels alive. You're writing to your brother, far away in the north, working in a mine. It's been months since you heard from him, and you don't even know if your letter will reach him. Still, you write. You tell him about the factory, about Mrs. Givens, about the fog that hasn't lifted in days. You tell him you still think of home, of the garden behind the small cottage, the sound of rain on the roof. Your pencil pauses. You can almost hear his laugh, the echo of your childhood in it. You write that you hope he's well, that he's safe. You add a line that feels simple but true. I miss you, but I keep on. When you finish, you read it over once, then fold it carefully. The paper feels fragile, like it might crumble under your touch. You seal it with a bit of candle wax, watching the red drip and cool. Outside, you can hear the faint sound of the city, carts in the distance, a voice calling, a door closing somewhere far below. The night feels enormous, but your little flame keeps a circle of light around you. You glance at the shelf above your bed, a small row of things you've kept through the years. A chipped teacup, a button, a book missing its cover. The book is a collection of poems given to you long ago by a woman who once worked beside you at the factory. Sometimes, when the nights are too long, you read from it. The words lift you, slow and soft, carrying you somewhere beyond the city's smoke. You open it now, turning the pages carefully. The paper smells of dust and time. You find the line you love most. The smallest candle may light the farthest dark. You smile, whispering the words aloud. The sound of your own voice surprises you, quiet but steady. You blow gently on the candle, watching the flame flicker but hold. Somewhere, far away, perhaps your brother is also looking at a flame, thinking of you. Perhaps the same line of poetry crosses his mind. The thought warms you more than the fire ever could. You whisper into the still air. Words are the hands that reach across distance and keep us human. The night arrives slowly. Like a heavy blanket spreading across the city, you step outside your narrow doorway, pulling your shawl tighter as the wind sighs through the alleyways. The smell of coal smoke hangs in the air, Familiar, almost comforting now, mixed with the faint sweetness of damp earth. Along the street, the lamplighter comes. His figure is a silhouette against the fading glow of the sky, a tall ladder balanced across his shoulder, a long pole with a flame at its tip. He moves steadily from one lamp to the next, lighting each with practiced grace. You watch him from the edge of the pavement. He does not rush. Each gesture is patient, almost reverent. The small flame leaps to life, and the glass case glows with a warm, golden heart. It's as if he's stitching light into the fabric of the night. One lamp, then another. The line of fire stretches down the street. Soft halos appearing one by one, pushing back the grayness. Children trail behind him. Giggling quietly, they call him the night's tailor, for he sows light into darkness. He smiles at them but never pauses. His work is steady, sure. You follow at a distance, your boots clicking softly against the cobblestones. The lamps hum faintly when lit, their light flickering against the fog. You feel the warmth of each one as you pass, a small pulse of life in the chill air. A woman opens a window above and leans out, shaking crumbs from a cloth. The lamplighter tips his hat, and she nods before disappearing again into her dim kitchen. The city transforms as he goes, from shadow to shimmer, from weary gray to quiet gold. It's a kind of magic that belongs to ordinary people, the kind that doesn't ask for thanks but leaves its mark all the same. When the lamplighter reaches the end of the street, he turns his head slightly. For a moment your eyes meet. His face is lined, his gaze calm. He nods once, a silent greeting between two souls awake in the twilight. You watch him vanish into the mist, his ladder and flame fading like a dream. The lamps remain, steady and glowing like sentinels of peace. The fog thickens. The light from each lamp blurs softly, turning the street into a glowing ribbon that winds into the night. You stand still for a while, just breathing it in. The scent of oil and rain, the sound of quiet footsteps, the glow of the gaslight kissing the damp stones. It feels safe, somehow, to know that even in the darkest hour, someone walks these streets to keep the light alive. You whisper to yourself, as if in prayer, there is always someone tending the flame. The city is quieter now. The lamps glow faintly through the mist, their flames steady against the cool November air. You walk slowly, your shawl drawn close, your breath turning white in the darkness. The streets feel endless at night, each turn leading to another shadow, another silence. Then, from somewhere ahead, you hear the steady tap of a wooden staff. It's the sound of the watchman. He appears through the fog, his lantern swinging at his side, casting soft circles of light on the ground. His coat is thick, his hat pulled low. He greets you with a nod, not startled, not curious, just calm, as though he's seen every kind of soul that walks the city after dark. "Quiet night," he murmurs. His voice is deep, patient. You nod. "Quiet, yes." He pauses beside one of the lamps, adjusting its wick with practiced hands. The flame brightens for a moment, then steadies. The light glows across his face, showing the lines of long years and long nights. He tells you that he walks these same streets every evening, from dusk until dawn. He knows which windows stay lit late, which cats prowl the alleys, which doors creak when the wind blows. He's seen snow fall on the river, fires in the warehouses, and once, he says, a fog so thick it swallowed the world. As he speaks, the night feels less empty. His voice blends with the soft rustle of the wind, the distant splash of water somewhere unseen. You walk beside him for a while, your footsteps matching his slow rhythm. Every so often he pauses, listening, not for danger, but for the living heartbeat of the city beneath the quiet. When you reach a small square, he stops. A stray dog sleeps curled beside a lamppost. The watchman sets his lantern down, strokes the dog's fur, and leaves a crust of bread from his pocket. "No one should be hungry," he says softly. "Not even him." You feel something warm in your chest, a kind of quiet kindness that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. The clock tower strikes 2. Its chime rolls across the rooftops, deep and slow. The watchman lifts his lantern again, the light reflecting in his eyes. "Best get home," he says gently. "The fog will thicken soon." You thank him, and as you turn to go, he touches the brim of his hat in farewell. You walk back through the lamplit mist, Each step echoes softly, the night folding around you like a blanket. Behind you, the sound of the watchman's staff fades. Tap, 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 until it's just a memory carried by the wind. Somewhere above, a church bell tolls the half hour, and you think of the man still walking his route, keeping watch while the city sleeps. You breathe deeply, the air cool and sweet. The lights blur through the fog, glowing like quiet stars brought down to earth. And as you near your door, you whisper a thought to yourself, even in silence. Someone guards the peace. The first light of day stretches over London, pale and shy. It filters through narrow windows, painting gold across soot-dark walls. You wake to the sound of carts on the cobblestones, wheels clattering, voices calling. The city already busy before the sun has fully risen. The air is cool, thick with the scent of damp stone and the faint sweetness of baking bread from the shop below. You pull your shawl around your shoulders and sit up slowly. The blanket is thin, but the little room feels warmer than usual. Outside, a thin line of sunlight has found its way through the fog, a rare gift. You rise and wash your face in a small basin, the water cold and clean. The shock of it wakes you fully. In the small mirror above the table, your reflection stares back. Tired, yes, but alive. The streets below hum with the rhythm of morning. Milkmen call out softly, their horses snorting as they pull wagons. A flower girl arranges her blooms in neat rows, violets, daffodils, small bursts of color against the gray stone. The scent drifts upward, fresh and delicate. You make your way down to the street, each step echoing in the narrow stairwell. The door opens to a flood of morning sound, the chatter of neighbors, the bark of dogs, the far-off whistle of a train beginning its journey. The air is cool and alive. You breathe deeply, feeling the sharp bite of smoke mixed with the damp air off the river. A chimney sweep passes by, his face blackened, his smile wide. "Morning, miss," he says cheerfully. You nod and smile back. There's a strange kind of hope in the morning, fragile but real. You stop by the bakery, coins clutched tight in your hand. The warmth of the oven seeps out through the open door, and for a moment, you just stand there, letting the heat soak into your bones. The baker's wife hands you a small loaf, still warm, still steaming. The smell fills your senses completely. You walk as you eat, tearing off small pieces, letting the crust crackle softly between your fingers. Around you, London stirs, the hum of people, the clip of boots, the distant rhythm of hammers in the workshops. The fog lifts little by little, revealing rooftops slick with dew. A shaft of sunlight catches the glass of a window across the street, and for a brief instant the whole world glows. You pause, letting the light touch your face. The warmth feels like a quiet blessing. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell rings, calling people to prayer. The sound rolls through the streets, deep and familiar, mixing with the morning air. You stand there, bread in hand, heart steady. The day has begun again. Another chance to work, to endure, to find small moments of beauty in a city that rarely rests. And as the bell fades, you whisper to yourself, every dawn, no matter how gray, carries its own light. You make your way toward the market, the loaf of bread wrapped safely in your shawl. The streets grow livelier with every turn, the quiet of morning replaced by the steady heartbeat of the day. The market appears like a living thing, a maze of stalls, carts and people all speaking at once. Voices overlap, sellers shouting prices, customers haggling, children laughing as they dart between stands. The air is thick with scent, roasted nuts, damp straw, fish, leather, and something sweet and spiced from a far-off bakery. You pause at the edge, taking it all in. The sunlight has grown stronger now, filtering through the thin layer of smoke that always hangs above the city. The colors are brighter here, fabrics draped in rich reds and blues, apples shining in neat piles, ribbons fluttering like tiny flags. A woman at a stall calls out, "Fresh greens!" From the countryside this morning. You smile and move closer, running your fingers lightly over the leaves. Still cool with dew, the woman's hands are rough. Her face tired but kind. You buy a small bunch, enough for supper, and she wraps them carefully in paper. Nearby, a man sharpens knives on a wheel, the metal singing softly as it spins. A boy sells newspapers, his voice rising above the crowd. Accident on the docks. Ship lost to the fog. You glance at the headline. Another story of someone's hard luck. Another reminder of how fragile each day can be. Still, the market is full of warmth. People greet one another, share news, laugh about the weather. You see Mrs. Calloway, an older woman from your street, haggling fiercely over the price of potatoes. Her laughter, sharp and bright, cuts through the noise like music. A small band plays near the corner, a fiddler, a drummer, a boy with a tin whistle. The tune is cheerful, carrying a rhythm that feels older than the city itself. A few children begin to dance, their boots clapping against the cobblestones. You watch for a while, smiling. The sound fills your chest with something light and fleeting. Joy, maybe, or the memory of it. Then a soft drizzle begins, the sky dimming, droplets pattering gently on canvas awnings. No one rushes away. The sellers simply cover their goods, and the crowd huddles closer, the market turning into a small, buzzing world under the rain. You find shelter beneath an overhang, sharing space with a man selling ribbons. He offers you one, a thin strip of blue silk, its color deep as twilight. For luck, he says. You hesitate, then take it. I'll need it, you answer with a small smile. When the rain eases, you tuck the ribbon into your sleeve and make your way home. The puddles shimmer under the weak sunlight, and the market begins to breathe again, louder and livelier than before. As you walk, you think of the sounds and smells still clinging to you. The fiddle, the laughter, the scent of fresh bread and greens. They remind you that life, even when hard, hums with small joys, the kind that keep the heart from breaking completely. You whisper softly, as if to seal the thought within you. Even among noise and struggle, there are moments that sing. Sunday arrives softly. The city seems slower, gentler, wrapped in a kind of hush. Even the air feels different, less heavy with smoke, more open to the touch of light. You wake before the first bell. The window cracked just enough for a cool breeze to drift in. Somewhere nearby, a sparrow calls out from a rooftop, its voice small but determined. You lie there a moment longer, feeling the warmth of your blanket, the stillness that Sunday brings. A stillness rare and precious in a world of constant work. When the bells begin to ring, their sound rolls through the air, soft and solemn. They rise from every corner of London, deep tones from stone towers, lighter chimes from small chapels, weaving together into one great slow song. You close your eyes, letting the sound move through you. The streets outside are quieter than usual. No shouting vendors, no clatter of carts. Only the soft scuff of shoes, the murmur of voices heading toward the church. You dress in your best, which isn't much, but clean and carefully mended. The blue ribbon from the marketplace is tied neatly around your wrist. A small charm against worry. The walk to the church is peaceful. Children hold their mothers' hands. Men in worn coats nod to one another, and even the dogs seem to walk slower, as if respecting the day. The air smells faintly of wet stone and soap, the scent of washing done on Saturday, drying in quiet yards. When you reach the church, the great doors are open, light spilling through in pale beams. Inside, the air is cool, touched with the faint scent of wax and lilies. You find a seat near the back. The wooden pew creaks softly beneath you, around you. People settle into stillness, hands folded, eyes closed, breath slow and steady. The organ begins, a long, deep note that vibrates through the stone. The hymn rises, gentle and low, voices blending together, rough and pure all at once. You don't sing at first. You just listen. The melody wraps around you like a soft shawl. It's a song about endurance, about faith, about the quiet strength it takes simply to keep walking through each day. And as you listen, you feel something calm unfurling inside you. Not joy exactly, but peace, the kind of peace that asks nothing but stillness in return. The sermon speaks of patience and humility, of hardship as a test, of love as the light that survives the dark. You don't understand every word, but you understand the feeling, the warmth of belonging, the shared silence of people carrying similar burdens. When the service ends, sunlight spills through the tall windows, catching dust in the air like drifting gold. You linger, tracing your fingers along the smooth edge of the pew, not wanting to leave just yet. Outside, The world seems quieter still. People speak softly, as though unwilling to disturb the fragile peace the bells have brought. You walk home slowly, the blue ribbon cool against your wrist. A breeze stirs the air, carrying the last echo of the bells through the emptying streets. You pause at the corner, close your eyes and whisper, in stillness. The soul remembers its strength. The bells have fallen silent now. By midday, the sun sits higher than usual, not bright but steady, its pale light washing softly over the streets. You sit outside your small building, a cup of tea in hand, steam rising gently from its surface. Around you, the world breathes differently on Sundays. Children play in the narrow lanes, their laughter echoing between brick walls. Two men sit by the curb with pipes, talking quietly about ships and work, their smoke curling lazily into the air. Even the river sounds gentler, its usual roar softened to a low hum beneath the distant chatter. You sip your tea, weak but warm, and feel the heat seep into your hands. For once, there is nowhere to rush to, no clock to obey. A neighbor, Mrs. Ellis, steps out carrying a small tin plate. "Bread pudding," she says with a smile, offering you a slice. You thank her, and the taste brings back memories of your mother. Cinnamon, milk and comfort. The two of you talk quietly, voices low and unhurried. She speaks of her grown son, now working in the Navy. You tell her about the letter you wrote to your brother, still waiting for a reply. The conversation drifts like smoke, light, simple, full of the small warmth that only shared stories bring. After she leaves, you lean back and close your eyes. The sounds of the street weave together, a dog barking, a cart rolling by, a child singing to herself. It all blends into something soothing, something that feels like home. Later, you take a short walk toward the park at the edge of the district. It's not grand, just a patch of green surrounded by iron rails, but it feels like another world entirely. People sit on benches, reading or talking softly. A young man plays the violin, his melody slow and wistful. You stand under a tree, the grass cool beneath your shoes, and listen. The air smells of wet leaves and sunlight. You tilt your head back and watch the clouds drift past, slow, heavy, serene. A small girl runs past, chasing a paper hoop. She trips, laughs, and tries again. You smile, remembering days long gone, when your biggest worry was whether the rain would spoil your play. The violin fades into the distance as you walk home again, your thoughts soft and slow. The streets glow faintly now, the afternoon light golden against the stone. Back in your room, you open the window. The city hums quietly below, peaceful. For once, you breathe it in, that rare calm that Sunday brings, knowing it won't last, but cherishing it all the same. You set the blue ribbon on your table and whisper to yourself, even the weary deserve a day to dream. Evening creeps slowly over London. The light turns golden first, brushing the rooftops, and then fades into a soft gray. The streets, once filled with the gentle buzz of Sunday talk, begin to still. You sit by your window, the same cup of tea now cold beside you, and watch the light shift across the glass. Children's laughter grows faint as they are called home, their small feet pattering away. A lamplighter appears on the corner, his long pole lifting flame to glass, one lamp at a time. With every flicker, the city seems to sigh, as though exhaling the last warmth of the day. You pull your shawl tighter, feeling that familiar quiet settle in, the kind that carries both comfort and ache. Down the street, someone hums a tune, an old hymn from the morning service. It drifts through the dusk, mingling with the faint sounds of a carriage wheel and the far-off cry of a night vendor. You light a single candle on your table. Its flame trembles at first, then steadies, casting long shadows that dance softly against the wall. In its glow, the blue ribbon gleams faintly, a small reminder of gentler moments. You think of the week ahead, long hours, the ache of hands, the endless rhythm of work. But for now, none of it feels heavy. There is stillness, and in that stillness a strange sort of grace. Outside, the sky deepens to violet. The first stars peek through the London haze, faint but certain, like promises kept in silence. You whisper to yourself, even in the darkest hours, there is light enough to see the way home. Night has fallen. The streets are hushed now, bathed in the faint orange glow of the gas lamps. A light fog curls between the alleyways, softening every sound, turning the world into whispers. You lie in bed, wrapped in a thin blanket. The air is cool, and from somewhere outside comes the low hum of the city, the distant roll of a carriage, a dog barking, the muffled murmur of a late walker. Your candle burns low, the flame fluttering each time the wind finds a crack in the window. Its light pools across the wooden floor, soft and golden, catching the worn edges of your shoes and the small threadbare rug. You close your eyes and listen to the quiet creak of the boards beneath you, to the soft sigh of the wind against the glass. Your own steady breathing, a rhythm as old as the world itself. Dreams come slowly, like fog rolling in from the river. You see faces, your mother's smile, your brother's laughter, streets washed in sunlight that once seemed endless. They fade and return, gentle and fleeting for a moment. You feel as though time has softened, the harshness of life slipping away, leaving only peace. Outside, the church bell strikes 9. Its sound moves through the night like a heartbeat, steady, certain, alive. You whisper a small prayer, not for riches or change, but for quiet strength, to keep walking, to keep hoping, to keep believing in light. The flame flickers one last time before the candle gives out. Darkness settles, calm, deep and kind, and in that silence, London breathes. The whole city, asleep beneath its veil of fog and dreams. Monday begins as it always does, quietly at first, then all at once. Before dawn, the air carries a damp chill that clings to your skin as you stir awake. The street outside is still dark, but you can hear life returning, footsteps, doors creaking open, a cart rolling past. You dress in near silence, fingers stiff from the cold. The fabric of your dress feels rough, still faintly scented of smoke and soap. The candlelight flickers as you pull your shawl around you, the room fading into soft gold and shadow. The bread is hard this morning, the tea weak. But it's enough to wake your senses, to remind you that the week begins again. When you step into the street, the fog greets you like an old friend, thick and cool, curling around your ankles. Men hurry toward the docks, their breath visible in the early light. Women like you move quickly, shawls pulled close, eyes half-focused on the road ahead. No one speaks much. The city's rhythm is heavy again, not cruel, just steady, inevitable. The lamplighter's work is done. The last flames fade as the first pale sunlight struggles through the haze. As you walk toward the factory, you pass a young boy sweeping the pavement. He hums to himself, a soft tune that echoes against the stone. You drop a small smile his way, and he nods without stopping, broom still moving in a steady rhythm. When you reach the iron gates, the sound of machinery is already there, distant but growing. The whistle blows, sharp and sure, and you step forward. As you always do, inside the air is thick with oil and heat. The clatter begins, weaving its endless song. You take your seat, hands finding the familiar threads, body remembering the motions before your mind catches up. Hours blend into one another. The noise becomes something constant, almost comforting in its predictability. The sun rises unseen, hidden behind smoke and labor. When noon arrives, the whistle cuts through the air again. You pause, stretch your aching shoulders, and glance toward the window. A faint sliver of light pushes through, weak, but golden. You let yourself imagine the outside world for just a moment, the park, the children, the sky. Then, quietly, you return to the work. The day will end as it always does, and though the rhythm feels endless, you know it carries you forward, one breath, one stitch, one silent act of endurance at a time. It is night again, and you sit by the window, watching your reflection in the glass. The world outside moves in silence, a lantern swinging in the fog, the shadow of a cat slipping through the alley, the faint glow of the moon behind the clouds. You rest your chin on your hands and think, not about the work, not about tomorrow, but about what it means to simply be. There's a stillness in you now, one that comes from exhaustion but feels deeper than that. Something almost peaceful. It's the kind of quiet that holds memories, soft and fading, like the scent of lavender long after the bloom is gone. You remember your mother's hands, rough from scrubbing but warm when they held yours. You remember laughter, not from joy alone but from resilience, from the small triumphs of making it through each day. A soft knock breaks the silence. It's Mrs. Keats again, holding a small candle stub. "Yours went out," she says gently. You take it smiling. "Thank you." She lingers for a moment, then whispers, "It's strange, isn't it, how we keep going?" You nod. It is. And after she leaves, you think about that. How people keep walking, keep breathing, even when the world seems built to wear them down. There's strength in that. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that endures quietly, unseen. You lie back on the bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. The faint scent of coal and tea lingers in the room. The candle's flame wavers, tiny but steady, casting its soft glow across the worn wood and thin blanket. You think, maybe life is not about great change or grandeur. Maybe it's about holding light, however small, in a place that forgets it exists. You close your eyes. Outside, the city murmurs in its sleep, endless breathing, alive. The first light of morning touches London like a whisper. The fog still hangs low, but it glows now, pale gold at the edges, soft and alive. You rise slowly, your body heavy but rested. The room is quiet, save for the faint crackle of the fire you manage to keep through the night. You watch the light slide across the table, touching the blue ribbon, the cup, the small chipped mirror. Everything looks the same, yet somehow changed, gentler, clearer, as if the light itself understands. You open the window. The air that rushes in is cool and damp, carrying the smell of the river and chimney smoke. The city below stirs again. Footsteps, laughter, the sound of a wheel turning over cobblestones. Life, eternal and ordinary. You lean against the sill and close your eyes. Letting the morning wash over you, you think of all that's past, the endless work, the moments of kindness, the fleeting warmth of sunlight on cold stone. There's beauty in the ordinary. You realize, in the rhythm of breath, in the small acts of endurance, in the way a heart keeps choosing hope, somewhere far off, a church bell rings, its tone drifts through the mist. Clear and certain, the sound seems to stretch beyond the city, beyond time, a reminder that even in hardship, there is continuity, there is grace. You smile softly, resting your hands on the windowsill. The day will be long, as always, but you are ready for it, because even here, in soot, in silence, in struggle, you found something beautiful. The quiet strength of simply being alive. You take one last deep breath and whisper to the waking city, "Here I am." The sun lifts over the rooftops, slow and golden, and the story of London begins again.